Hello and welcome. And today I'm really excited because we're going to get to talk about all things about the training ball from ProLine Balls. When major league hitters or professional hitters are looking for kind of a instruction and a little bit of a training atmosphere routine, they generally go to the best instructors in the country. And today we're going to be talking with one of those. Works with Alex Brom from the Phillies, and obviously a guy that you may have heard of in Kansas City, Bobby Witt Jr., but hitting coach extraordinaire to the stars at Major League Baseball, Jeremy Isenhower. Jeremy, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Yes, sir. Thanks for
And
having me.
I want to talk about when you're teaching hitters to train against velocity and obviously movement at that major league level, and we're using equipment. Usually, we're using whether it's a hack attack or we're using a jugs machine, etc. When you're training at velocity, we have to beware of injuries and obviously broken bats, and that's where ProLine comes into play. So, if you can talk a little bit about how you came to begin to use ProLine and how you utilize it with regard to your teachings.
Yeah. So when we first started this whole thing, it was when we were trying to get guys to hit the right fastball, um, and it worked. But we tried to use a baseball, and didn't make sense because you got guys that are jamming themselves up. Because when you're trying to learn how to hit up and in fastballs, you're going to get jammed some. So you had to worry about hamate bones getting broke. You had to worry about bats getting broke, shins getting hit, all these different things. Or a ball just flying up and hitting a hitter. So we started going and trying to find a foam type of ball. And so we went through a lot. I don't want to call people out, but I used pretty much every ball in the market. And the one thing I found about ProLine was it played the most efficient. It played the most true. And my big league hitters thought that it looked more like a big league pitch than any other ball in the market. So that's what we went with. And I had no rhyme or reason of why, or no skin in the game, I guess you could say, on why we picked it. It was more, this is what's best. This is what we're doing because we train hitters. We're not here to even sell balls and so we started using it, and it made Alec Bohm go from like a negative 15 on his value for the ride fastball in the big leagues for his value for the four seam fastball to plus 12 in 1 year. So it was a 27 run differential on just how to get to the ball. So then the next year it's like, okay, now you see Bobby and Alec both struggling a little bit with the sinker. So we go, okay, let's see what it does with the sinker. And so we start throwing it in the big hack. So we use the junior hack for the ride, and then we use the big hack for the sinker. And we got that baby up to 99, 97 miles an hour with hard run into their feet. And we had to figure out how to get inside of it and hit it the other way, but get it out front. So if you can pull it, you pull it. But it played so true that their numbers went crazy, and it started making the gameplay slower. Is the big thing we realized. So I think what we went into it thinking, it just evolved into this whole process of it helped everything. So then it came to where other hitters started coming and what is it that you guys are doing? It's like, we're telling the truth, right? Like, what do you struggle with? This ball will let you fix what you're struggling with.
So I think it's important for parents to understand when Jeremy is talking, obviously major league hitters, college hitters, advanced hitters at advanced levels want to be able to simulate what it is that they are seeing day in and day out, whether it's at the college level, professional, and obviously the major league level. So if I go over here and I grab, one of the ProLine balls, obviously there's a little give to it, but it's got the seams, and if we grab the baseball, and I want you to discuss this point, this right here, Major League, this is a college Division I baseball. This is the ProLine training ball. When you start to have this coming up and in, and you're simulating 95 plus, you're going to hurt wrists or hands or thumbs, hamate bones, etc. Also, if you're fouling this off as opposed to this, which has a little bit of give to it.
The ball
Talk
you have
about the ball flight.
Yeah, the ball you have right there is actually a weighted ball.
Right, correct. Yep.
So the one we use in the machine is actually a little different ball that ProLine has, and it's the white dimpled ball. That you have any of those?
Yeah,
and
we have those. Yep.
Yeah, and that one it'll run out of machines. That one's more for like the catching stuff, and if you wanted to hit more of a heavy ball, it still wouldn't hurt you, but it'd make you get through the ball a little bit better. So because I think that's kind of the thing where people would argue with the foam ball, right? They're like, well, how do I get it? I feel like I'm hitting through the ball. Well, you can grab that one and you can make it feel like you can hit through it. The foam is really for like the tough pitch. It's like the pitcher getting you out. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So that ball can be more for like hitting through the ball for your swing and finishing a swing, things like that. But the the big thing that we found though is that you have to stay inside of it. You have to do everything has to be correct on the mechanic in order to even hit the pitch. Does that make sense? So we wanted to emulate the best pitches we could find. So we want to see a Jake DeGrom ride fastball. We want to see, you know, a Gratterall like sinker. We want to see all these guys' like best pitch, and the only way we could do it was with the ball. Because I mean, literally, a baseball wouldn't even play with the way we wanted it to play off the machine because it was shooting everywhere. You know what I mean? So the big thing that we wanted to see a ball that actually, when we wanted the ball, we wanted to manipulate the ball with the numbers of the machine, and not by the ball itself not being able to carry right. Does that make sense? So like if I put, let's say 7-7 on the two top and then a 10 on the bottom, that's going to be a true ride fastball. If I mess with a little bit on top where I go like 5-7 and then 6, now it's going to have a sinker. You know what I mean? So, and whatever the dials told me it was throwing, it would actually throw. That's one of the most important things I feel like for hitters, because like they don't want to use a different ball because it's like this thing ain't playing true. And that's one of the biggest things you'll hear about all of these different pitches, like for all these different foam balls that people use.
If you could kind of speak to the coaches or the instructors that are across the country and talk about the consistency and why that's a necessity when you're doing lessons. In other words, if you're working on that up and in fastball, you need that ball to perform repeatedly in that same location, day after day until the hitters are comfortable in there. Just talk about the value as a coach or an instructor as to the ProLine ball as far as the consistency out of the machines day in and day out.
Yeah, no doubt. Because I think what happens though is like, let's say we have different parts of the zone, right? So we have up and in. We have like, let's say we go to 4 corners. You have up and in, down and in, up and away, down and away. If I throw a ride fastball, maybe middle away or even middle in, but it's middle of the zone down, and the guy hits it, I could be fooled thinking this guy can hit, right? I think, okay, he can handle this pitch. So then the location of the pitch is what really matters. So it could not necessarily have to be like Adolis Garcia, right? So we first got Adolis because he couldn't handle the top of the zone. Had nothing to do with fastball or breaking ball. That didn't bother him. It was just a certain location of the zone. So I needed a ball that could literally throw it into that quadrant every single time. And it's huge, right? Because otherwise he start coming in and I start throwing ride fastballs or even breaking balls, and it's like, okay, he's getting to it. But really, if you look at it, it's in the middle of the zone. Does that make sense? So I needed a ball that could actually throw to the dime of where I wanted it to throw.
And can you talk about the durability of the ball? In other words, when you're talking at the major league, professional, and college level, there's a lot of repetitions. The balls are getting a lot of use, and that's really where ProLine kind of separates themselves from the others.
No doubt. Like the durability is insane. Actually, I couldn't tell you how many pitches it throws, but I'll tell you this: my machine's going 6 days a week, from about 9 a.m. until about 10 p.m. And we're just because it's kid after kid or player after player, adult after adult. We have every age. It's baseball, so it's like everybody's using it, and it's, I mean, thousands of pitches a week. And I'll have to get new balls probably every 4 months, probably 3 to 4 months, and that's because I use them every day for 10 straight hours. I mean, so, I mean, we were talking about this the other day. I said, if it was just a normal person, you could probably buy one the first time you buy them, you might not ever have to buy them again. Like
Right.
you know what I mean? So
I would love for you to discuss. I know a lot of parents and a lot of coaches are going to ask this question, so I'd like to get ahead of it.
yeah.
Major league hitters, professional hitters, they're using wood. The college or the high school athletes, they're using aluminum. Do you
Mhm.
use the balls with both the wood bats as well as the aluminums? Do they perform off of both?
I mean, we hit everything. I have a hammer. I have a guy who uses a hammer with one knee on a medicine ball. And I mean, Bobby just did it. It's like he has one knee on his medicine ball, on his back knee. He's got his bottom hand with a hammer I bought from Lowe's. It's like, and so he has to literally hit it with the bottom hand as it's coming by him. So we hit baseballs, bats. We hit like wood bats, aluminum bats, broomsticks. We've hit. It don't matter. And that's the good thing about it. You can hit anything with it, and it's lasting.
So now parents and coaches are going to want to ask, they want me to ask this question. Hitters today, they do a lot of tee work, soft toss work, but they don't train enough at velocity. And obviously, you're working with elite major league hitters that are focused in the offseason primarily on their weaknesses. And so, if you could speak to the coaches and the younger athletes about wanting to work their weaknesses, but against moving baseballs and the benefit that that will provide them as
No
they.
doubt. So we have a thinking process that a lot of people are scared of the truth, right? Like people are scared to tell the truth because they're scared to make outs, they're scared to be uncomfortable, they're scared of all this stuff. The majority of your at bats at the highest level, and it don't matter. It gets like 10 years old when you're facing the highest level of major pitchers at 10 years old. That's uncomfortable because the kids are bigger, stronger, they're throwing hard, and so you need to fight. You need to focus on being in an uncomfortable environment to train to make it very comfortable in a game. So what we do is we try to tell the truth on stuff like what is a pitcher actually doing? Who gets you out? Is it you or is it the pitcher? Like a guy gets in there and all of a sudden his swing is the best swing in the world because of flips and the tee, which is good, right? But I don't even think we don't even use a tee. We don't do flips because nobody throws it underhanded to you. Like we might be like Junior. We just talked about that actually. Junior does some soft toss to the side just to get like maybe loose, and then it's straight velocity. Alec, Alec don't even like Alec started third base in the All-Star game. The guy don't even he won't see nothing but velocity. He don't want flips. He don't want none of that. Like guys don't hit that. Bregman a couple years ago he was in here and it was like Breg's only wanted velocity, and it's like the ball is something that you can feel comfortable with. So you play fast. Like you should be waking up hitting heaters. I mean, if you can control the heater, you can control the ball. And that's what it comes down to. Like if you can control the velocity of the fastest fastball, your positioning is good, or you can hit all four quadrants in one move, you're going to be able to wait on pitches developing shapes to develop. Because what happens though is this, like here's what we realized. And this is what we had to realize with MJ Melendez, right? So he had such a big move that let's say AAA pitching, the break is, because this is true, it's 22 to 17 feet away. So 17 to 22 feet away, it's coming, then all of a sudden here comes the breaking ball. Here comes the sinker. Here comes the ride or whatever. In the big leagues is 12 to 14 feet. So, you think about Little League or like, I guess, they get mad if you call it Little League now because it's all travel ball, right?
Right.
But like 11-year-old major or 12-year-old major. The mounds are like these far apart. So it's like the kids are like, so the break is really close to you. If you're playing the town ball, that's like the break's further away. It's like a cement mixer, right? So what we have to have is we got to be able to train fast so we can understand how to get into position to where we can control the zone longer so that we're in position for that second break. Because most guys aren't in control for the second break. Does that make sense? So if you're training slow, there's no way you can like adapt when the ball breaks 12 feet from home plate. And the only way to do it is by training fast.
So explain to coaches and parents about the lanes. In other words, a fastball has that singular lane that it's the express lane. And then
Yeah.
that slide piece that comes off that fastball is probably coming in that second lane, but it's breaking, as you alluded to, that 12,
Yeah.
14 feet away. And you have to really stay patient. And then when that begins to peel off, you need to be able to take that backside. But talk about the lanes as far as preparing when you're training velocity out of the
Yeah.
machine.
So, I mean, I think the lanes could be determined basically different hitter to hitter, right? Like, so how fast you could recognize something. Like, let's say we have a 17-inch plate because we do. Let's say we give the black edges to the pitcher. So now we're going to cut this thing down to about 16 inches. So we can I try to play in 4 lanes. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4-inch lanes. Some guys can cut it in half. Some guys can go 16 inches. I don't care. I mean, it depends how precise you want to be to where the ball wants to go. So what happens though is when a pitch comes, like you have a ride fastball, it looks like here, and then all of a sudden about 12, 15 feet away, it goes, it just jumps up, and everybody's like, man, that ball went up. You're like, it didn't really go up. It just didn't come down. Then you have like the zero fastball, which keeps going on the same plane that it started on. And then you have like a sinker that'll go from the middle, and it can come to whichever lane you're looking. So but what we do is we try to take the lanes from the plate. So you have the sections of plate and take that in reference to the field, right? So if you go inside lane, you have left field line, maybe to left field, or I don't like to use lines, but let's say we go left fielder to left field gap. and then you go in the middle lane, you go left field gap to center field, then you go center field to right field gap, then right field gap to right fielder. Does that make sense? So we can stay inside those and not try to playing the lines is dangerous. But then if when you're thinking about a ball, it's going to move from one lane to the next lane. Most guys train so slow that they're so used to being able to do this. The next thing you know, the ball moves lanes and now you're out of position to hit because your scaps and everything are completely out of position. So then when you go to swing, you're pulling off everything, but it's really just because you're lined up wrong, right? So because you didn't actually hold positioning. So the velocity tree teaches you how to hold positioning. It teaches you how to like hold direction, turn into the plate, not away from the plate, all these different things. And the only way I figured out how to do it is by, unless you want to break something, is by using the foam ball. It's just the safest route.
Well, I want you to kind of end on this note because when you're talking about major league hitters,
Mm-hmm.
they are working on really finite areas of their game. They're not working big things; they're working little things, and they're
Yeah.
making adjustments all off season. So, with regard to the ProLine ball, let's say a parent doesn't have a machine or they don't have access to the Hack Attack, the Junior, the Big Boy, or the Jugs, or anything like that. What are some of the drills that you can use? Maybe some of the weighted balls or the heavier balls to not only get to, but to stay through contact.
I had Blake Mitchell with the Royals yesterday hit a medicine ball. So
Oh,
like, yeah, like I mean, don't get me wrong. The medicine ball we used for the back knee to go down to, so we want to feel like we're getting pulled down to the medicine ball, so the lower half can get under it and the top half can go through it, and that's how we try to get the ball in the air. We don't like the barrel angle to tip. You know what I mean? So um, it depends on the age, but like the weighted balls are good because you could just have a kid have to hit through it. That being said, it's like how long can you keep your barrel on the ball? Like if you think about hitting as it's a one lane highway between an arm and hitting in the hitting zone, right? So you have the arm, you have all the way to home plate. How long can your barrel stay in that zone and not have it come out, right? So impact is where the barrel needs to go through. Like if a train hits you, the reason it kills you is because it goes through you and it never slows down. So when
right,
you have two moving
right.
objects, one's going to slow down. Like a car will slow down and it'll peel off. A train don't. So I need my barrel to feel like it's increasing velocity or continuing to hold velocity through. So it could be a volleyball you hit, it could be a basketball you hit. Like when I was a kid, we used to hit like you remember that when you had like the basketballs and the volleyballs that had
We had
no
we had
yeah,
deflated volleyballs and we had
yeah,
deflated basketballs.
yeah. And it was like you figured out how to like like I always tell our guys, like if you hit a tree, right, with when you hit the barrel, when the barrel hits it, does the barrel want to come back and hit you in the head, or does it break your wrist because you're hitting through it so hard? That's what it should feel like, if that
So
makes sense.
you just made a point that I wasn't going to go here, but because you just talked about it, I really want to have parents
Mhm.
hear a major league hitting instructor talk about this. We see so much misinformation that gets spread on various social media platforms. And you just talked about, and I don't want to go any deeper than this, the barrel going backwards as opposed to the barrel getting directional to the
Mhm.
baseball. Can you talk about why that's important and why should parents avoid this guy as opposed to that guy?
Yeah, I mean, look, the barrel needs to turn from the hands to get straight to the ball in the shortest, quickest path. And everybody sees Aaron Judge is, in my opinion, probably the best power hitter I've ever seen in my entire life. Like you want to talk about just natural. He's a dude. That dude's I love the guy, and I love his process. I love what he does, and I love how he hits. I love his swing. I don't feel like I could teach his swing to about 99.9% of the world, and it's my theory behind it is this. So I was looking at about 1,000 different videos. I mean, when I say 1,000, I'm not joking. 1,000 different videos of Aaron Judge compared to Juan Soto, compared to all these guys. And when I look at my video, I have Aaron Judge and Juan Soto back to back in the lineup, so it was really easy. Aaron Judge's armpit, his front arm, was a foot and a half above the umpire's eyes almost every single day. A foot and a half. So I mean, when he drops his bottom hand, he's still on top of the zone. When Juan Soto was loaded, his armpit was right at the eyes of the umpire. So his barrel had to turn over to the top of his hands, what Aaron Judge could turn to the bottom of his hands. It was that easy. So Aaron Judge is coming this way is still direct, whereas we want to see how we can get direct straight to the ball. Boom. So I want my top hand to feel like my forearm and my knob and my barrel are all connected. I don't want that. I don't want drag. Drag comes from your rotation of your core, of your, your midsection, your spine, turning your pelvis inside your femurs. Does that make sense? And if people would look at how the biomechanic actually sets up, they would quit firing the back leg. They would like turn the pelvis on top of the femur and just take the leg down.
And that is how 99.9% of major league hitters have and will always hit. There are exceptions. There are the gifted few that they're blessed with all kinds of different, ability levels. Aaron Judge being a 6'7" behemoth.
Yeah,
But for the most part, you got to take that barrel. You cannot delay, by going backwards when a baseball is coming at you at 90 plus miles an hour.
We just answered the question earlier when we said how
Right.
far the ball gets down the lane before it breaks.
Right.
Like, unless you have the most elite bat speed in the world, Aaron Judge, like you can't take a longer path because that means the ball you can't start swinging until it's out of second break. You start swinging before it even breaks. I mean, come on, you know what I mean? And so that's what the majority of people have to do. So, like, you got to have, like, my opinion, a swing should be long. Now, let me go on that. The barrel should touch the ball. It should be a short to the ball, and it should be as long through the ball as you possibly can. So the swing will actually be long, but the barrel touches it, and then the rotation comes from behind it. So, and it's worked. Like, I mean, everybody can say I don't do social media really because I don't really feel like arguing with everybody about it, but I think our proof it works. I mean, our guys had
all you got to do is look at guys like Alex and Bobby, and you start to think about how they perform on the biggest stage. And for as long as, and I'm older than dirt, and it's always been short to long through with authority. And one of the benefits of having a guy like Jeremy join us today is the understanding that training with and against velocity is always going to help you perform because you're getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. If you're uncomfortable in your training environment, the game is going to seem comfortable. And that's where ProLine comes into play, being able to simulate repetition after repetition exactly what you're going to see in a game by an opposing pitcher.
So we added another thing really this week, or not this week, this off season that I didn't use before. It's a video delay app, right? So I'll put it on my iPad. I'll put it right there in the cage. So when they take a swing, they can see where their miss is, right? And they can see what's good and what's bad. And that's what I think hitters got to do. They got to be honest with what they're actually doing and what they're actually missing. Instead of saying, well, that ball was up. Well, really, was it? Or was that top of the zone? Like, I just want to swing up there. Well, what if the guy can throw it up there 4 times or 3 times in a row? Like, you can foul one off and then now you punch. Like, that's just, I won't swing at that. That's, how is that even a thing? Like, you can't swing. It's a strike. You better be able to hit it because somebody's going to be able to throw it there every single time. And, I think, I think our way works. I guess that's what I say. It's like, I mean, the Final Four of the Home Run Derby, we had 2 of them. So, I mean, people say we can't hit homers the way we hit them. I'm like, then you're wrong.
Well, I think the big thing is the truth is in the final numbers. And so year after year, at the end of every season, you can tell what's working and what's not working. And if a guy like Bobby Witt Jr., I know Melendez, I know his dad really well. If those are guys working with Jeremy and they're working with the ProLine ball, there's a reason why they're working with Jeremy and why they're working with the ProLine ball. It's consistency. It's the ability to get better. And that's all that matters in your training equipment. But Jeremy, I want to say thank you for taking the time. I know you're busy this time of year, but I really appreciate you taking the time. But you don't have any social media that you interact with parents or coaches?
Really. I mean, I was thinking about getting it, but I just haven't pulled the trigger on that yet.
All right. Well, we'll have a description and access via ProLine Balls. Everything to do with the ProLine ball, all their bands, all of their balls will all be linked in the description in both the podcast as well as this YouTube video. Thank you very much, Jeremy.
Thank you.
Awesome.